Book 3, Chapter 6, The Admiral's New Uniform. The words of Ambassador Valerius had burrowed deep into Captain Eva Rostova's heart, dissecting her anger with cold, undeniable logic. We were not ready to fight until we came out of hiding. She replayed them endlessly in the quiet moments aboard the Valiant, now gleaming under the restoration lights of the Museum of Silent Sacrifice. The bitterness still lingered, a phantom limb of betrayal, but it was now dulled by the crushing weight of understanding. Her father, her crew, her Valiant, they had not died in vain. They had bought the time. A cycle after Janli's broadcast, a formal request arrived aboard the Valiant, a summons to Heaven's Gate. Rostova went, not in her battle-worn old fleet uniform, but in a simple, pressed service jumpsuit, its faded patches a stark contrast to the pristine obsidian of the Angel Fleet vessels around her. She expected a debriefing, perhaps a formal commendation. She did not expect a future. She was ushered into a private, austere conference room on Heaven's Gate, where General Armitage awaited her. His gaze was analytical, piercing, yet held an unusual flicker of respect. He motioned to a seat. "Captain Rostova," Armitage began, his voice devoid of pleasantries. "Your service to humanity has been beyond measure. Your leadership, your tactical acumen, your unwavering resolve in the face of insurmountable odds with the old fleet has been meticulously observed." He brought up a holographic display, not of the Angel Fleet, but of the Valiant's desperate final engagements, her strategic maneuvers against superior alien forces, her crew's impossible endurance. Rostova watched, a strange mix of pride and pain welling within her. These were moments of quiet heroism, never intended for the eyes of the Angel Fleet. "We knew what you endured," Armitage continued, his voice softening barely perceptibly. "We knew the cost of our silence. Your sacrifices, and those of your fleet, created the window of opportunity we needed. Without that belief in your struggle, the galaxy would never have been lulled into complacency. The deception would have failed, and humanity would be extinct." He delivered the why with the cold, precise certainty of a strategist who understood the value of every pawn on the board. Rostova's jaw clenched. The logical acceptance was there, but the emotional wound remained. "So we were just bait?" "You died for humanity's future, Captain," Armitage stated, his voice firm. "A future that, without your sacrifice, would not exist. And that, Captain, makes you indispensable." He then activated a new holographic projection, a vast, newly designated operational division of the Angel Fleet. The Human Galactic Authority is establishing a new division, focused on the integration and protection of the newly compliant alien worlds, and the strategic oversight of our expanding borders. A bridge between the old galaxy and the new. We need a commander who understands both the harsh realities of desperate struggle and the unwavering resolve required to secure peace. He looked directly at her, his gaze unwavering. "We offer you the rank of Admiral within the Angel Fleet. You will command the Guardianship Division, a force comprised of newly assigned Angel-class vessels, Devil transports, and advanced Demon Army units. And to build this bridge, to lead with the spirit that has sustained humanity through its darkest hours, you will select your own commanders and captains. Choose from your former crew, Captain, from the men and women of the old human fleet. They are the ones who truly understand the cost of this peace, and their loyalty is beyond question." Eva Rostova stared at the holographic fleet, then at Armitage. "Admiral, a division of the Angel Fleet." The irony was a bitter yet potent flavor. To command the very power that had been hidden from her, to enforce the peace that had cost her so much. It was a staggering weight, a responsibility that dwarfed any she had ever known. Her old fleet past, once a source of quiet pride, now felt like a wound, but also a unique strength. She knew the suffering of the weak. She knew the arrogance of the strong. And now, she would wield the ultimate strength to protect the vulnerable. The ability to bring her own people with her, to give them the recognition and advancement they deserved. was the balm her wounded spirit desperately needed. Her gaze drifted to the gleaming obsidian uniform laid out on a side table. It was sharp, stark, powerful. It was the uniform of the Angel Fleet, the uniform of the lie. But now, it would be the uniform of her truth. "I accept, General," Eva Rostova stated, her voice clear and resonant, devoid of bitterness. The words felt heavy, but right. The uniform would be a constant reminder of the past, but she would wear it as a symbol of a future she now had the power to shape. Her ascent had begun. For the first time, she felt not just safe, but truly powerful. Chapter 7. The Weight of the Crown. The Quintet's grinding burden. The initial explosive phase of the revelation had passed, replaced by the far more demanding, grinding reality of governance. On Heaven's Gate, the bridge, once a crucible of strategic commands, now functioned as the central nervous system of a nascent galactic empire. The Inner Quintet found their roles expanding beyond military architects to become the de facto rulers of billions, their every decision rippling across star systems. The weight of their new crown was immense, relentless, and often thankless. Jian Li, ever the pragmatist, found her days consumed not by tactical deployments, but by the intricate architecture of galactic governance. Holographic projections in her private chamber, updated by Archangel's ceaseless data streams, showed the meticulous dismantling of alien weapons facilities, the redirection of vast resource flows, and the intricate establishment of human planetary defense grids. Ensure the Xylos contribute their full quota of exotic metals to the new Elysium orbital station by next cycle, she instructed Archangel, her voice calm, utterly devoid of fatigue despite the impossible hours. Their historical exploitation demands it, no exceptions. Her pragmatism was absolute, focused solely on solidifying humanity's power and correcting centuries of imbalance. General Armitage was the iron fist of the HGA, overseeing the vast Angel Fleet's deployment to enforce the surrender terms. His days were filled with reports of alien compliance, but also of insidious, often desperate, attempts at subversion. A disgruntled draconian faction attempting to scuttle a captured shipyard, a Thkar guild master trying to hide off-book trade routes. Neutralize with non-lethal force where possible, lethal where necessary. Armitage's voice would resonate across comms channels. He micromanaged logistics, ensuring the new supply chains from Earth's hidden floating greenhouses and stockyards reached both human colonies and compliant alien worlds. A massive logistical undertaking made possible by Archangel's near-omniscient coordination. Ambassador Valerius, now navigating the newly established Human Galactic Authority, HGA, Senate, a diverse assembly of human and compliant alien representatives, carefully selected for their malleability and loyalty, found himself engaged in endless, intricate debates. While ultimate power lay with the Quintet, the Senate was a necessary illusion of governance. He managed the constant human demands for greater colonial autonomy, assuaged alien fears of cultural erasure, and subtly steered legislation that cemented HGA control under the guise of shared prosperity. The Thkar representative attempts to reintroduce privatized trade routes for efficiency, Valerius remarked to Maeve O'Connell after a grueling session, a weary sigh escaping him. They learn quickly, but their nature remains exploitative. The deepest cuts of their leadership burden often fell on Maeve O'Connell. Her empathetic senses were a constant conduit to the galaxy's turbulent emotions. She felt the Xylos' humiliated rage, the Draconians' seething resentment, the Valar's profound, broken fear. But she also felt the complex, often conflicting emotions of her own species, the lingering bitterness of the old fleet crews, the bewilderment and resentment of the colonists, and the subtle cultural differences between the hidden humans, builders, Angel Fleet crews, and those who had lived openly under alien oppression. She advised Jianli on programs for psychological integration, urging patience and understanding. "We must address the emotional trauma directly, Jian," she argued, "or that bitterness will fester into something far more dangerous than any alien rebellion." Dr. Oris Thorne, buried in the immense task of integrating alien technology into HGA systems and refining the newly acquired mine yields, now extracted entirely by AI drone bots, still felt the immense pressure of his past choices. He ensured the flow of raw materials was seamless, contributing to the abundance enjoyed by human colonies. He also began mapping the resource needs for the promised upliftment of compliant alien races, sketching theoretical designs for their new orbital defense grids. He was a creator, but now his creations served as the backbone of a galaxy-spanning administration. Every power fluctuation, a direct reflection of the immense weight the quintet carried. The Inner Quintet found their personal lives non-existent. Their isolation, once a product of their secret, was now a function of their supreme power. They were guardians, architects, and rulers, but also prisoners of the very peace they had fought for. Disagreements within the quintet were rare, but sharp, reflections of the immense pressure. Jianli's unyielding vision, Armitage's strategic rigidity, Valerius's political maneuvering, Maeve's empathetic concerns, and Thorne's logical detachment, each was vital, but together they navigated a new galaxy with a singular, immense burden. They were building a utopia, but the weight of its construction threatened to crush its very builders. Chapter 8: The Hand of the Conqueror and the Gift of the Drone. The Human Galactic Authority, HGA, having firmly established its military and political supremacy, now turned its attention to the delicate yet crucial task of implementing the promised New Dawn for compliant alien races. The terms of surrender had been absolute, but humanity's subsequent actions on cooperative worlds proved to be as revolutionary as their sudden appearance. On Xylar Prime, the Xylos capital, a deep, pervasive weariness had settled over the once bustling planet. Grand Admiral Exlith remained unresponsive, a symbol of their shattered hubris. Commander Zakor, the interim leader, felt the weight of his species' future. They had complied, disarming their fleets and opening their networks, fearing inevitable retribution. What they received, however, was something far more bewildering than expected. Massive Angel Fleet supply ships, their obsidian hulls reflecting the Xylos sun like polished dark mirrors, materialized in orbit. From them descended not troops, but colossal cargo vessels filled with resources. For a species that had always managed its populations through strict resource allocation and even occasional culling of inefficient elements, the sheer abundance was shocking. Nutritional supplements, advanced medical compounds, and raw materials flowed into their planetary distribution centers, managed by silent, efficient human logistics teams. Then came the drones, swarms of sleek, multi-limbed AI-driven drones, similar to those now revolutionizing human colonies, descended into Xylos mines, agricultural complexes, and crumbling infrastructure. The Xylos, a highly organized but physically less robust species, had always relied on intricate bureaucratic oversight and a large, if slow, labor class for their resource extraction and maintenance. Now, the drones moved with astonishing speed and precision, replacing millions of Xylos workers overnight. They plunged into hazardous geothermal vents, repaired ancient power conduits, and cultivated sprawling hydroponic farms with an efficiency that bordered on magic. Commander Zakor, observing a feed from a newly automated mining operation, watched as a single AI drone unit completed the work of 100 Xylos laborers in a fraction of the time, with zero oversight. The relief was immediate, palpable amongst his populace. No more dangerous shifts, no more crushing quotas. But the cognitive dissonance was immense. These were the former primitives who had shattered their fleets, and now they were providing unimaginable comfort. "They are liberating us from labor," a Xylos counselor murmured, her vocalizers a mix of awe and discomfort. "But in doing so, they are stripping us of our societal purpose." Zakor had no answer. The new order was not just about control, but about a forced redefinition of existence. Simultaneously, the vast construction fleets that had built the human orbital stations now arrived over Xylos Prime. Within weeks, colossal Angel Fleet docking and supply space stations began to take shape in orbit, gleaming structures of obsidian and light that dwarfed anything the Xylos had ever built. These weren't alien bases. They were designated as HGA facilities, and crucially, they were being equipped with the same advanced planetary defense grids that protected human worlds. This was the ultimate symbol of the HGA's new policy. All beings would be treated as equals and defended equally. Alara Vance, acting as a lead HGA liaison for the Xylos, often found herself in the central Xylos Council chambers. Her empathetic senses registered the conflicting emotions, the deep, ancient pride of the Xylos battling with the stark reality of their new reliance. "We understand your apprehension," Alara told a council of elders, her voice calm and resonant, letting her empathy flow subtly to convey sincerity. "This is a profound shift, but the human Galactic Authority offers a peace based on mutual prosperity and shared security. The resources, the technology, they are tools for collective advancement, not continued exploitation. Our aim is to ensure that no species in this galaxy lives under threat again." Her words, simple and direct, were carried by her empathetic resonance, bypassing immediate anger and fostering a glimmer of understanding. For many Xylos citizens, the immediate uplift in living standards was undeniable. The fear of external threats, which their own fleets had always struggled to contain, was now entirely managed by the omnipresent Angel Fleet. The process was not without its challenges. Some Xylos fundamentalists preached passive resistance against the technological slavery. Draconian traditionalists railed against the humiliation of human charity. But the HGA's response was consistently firm. The aid flowed, the drones worked, and the defense grids protected. Refusal to integrate, or any attempt at open defiance, was met not with aggression, but with the cold, silent withdrawal of resources and the reapplication of enforcement, quickly bringing dissenters back into line. The new era of galactic aid was, in essence, a strategic benevolence. It was a clear demonstration that humanity's reign was not merely one of crushing power, but of an unprecedented upliftment. It was the next step in Jianli's grand design to compel respect, yes, but also to build a truly unified, peaceful galaxy, one where the only masters were human. Chapter 9. The Living Tools. Deepening gifted roles with the human Galactic Authority, HGA. Firmly entrenched and the initial waves of aid flowing, the gifted found their roles deepening, their unique abilities becoming not just assets, but integral, living components of galactic governance. The demands on their powers grew exponentially, pushing the boundaries of what they, and even Archangel, believed possible. Kalen Rourke, ever at the side of Jian Li on Heaven's Gate, found his precognition evolving from strategic foresight to an almost ecological understanding of galactic stability. His hum now sifted through billions of variables, subtle shifts in alien demographics, nascent economic discontent on distant worlds, the faint, shimmering premonitions of ideological radicalization in subdued populations. He wasn't just predicting attacks, he was identifying the societal fault lines that could lead to them decades hence. This macro-level foresight was invaluable for the HGA's long-term planning, allowing for proactive aid, targeted diplomacy, or subtle interventions. But the constant flow of potential futures, the unending what-ifs, left him perpetually on edge. He saw the suffering that might be, the pain that could arise, and the weight of that knowledge was a suffocating cloak. He found fleeting peace only in Alara's quiet presence, her empathy a soothing balm to the ceaseless cacophony of his mind. Alara Vance's empathy, meanwhile, became the HGA's most potent tool for cross-species integration. She was no longer just sensing emotions. She was actively mediating intractable disputes between alien factions, resolving cultural misunderstandings, and identifying genuine intentions during complex integration processes. When a Xylos resource dispute with a draconian mining guild threatened to escalate, Alara was dispatched. In the tense negotiation chamber, her empathy allowed her to perceive the Xylos' deep-seated fear of scarcity warring with the Draconians' wounded pride over their diminished status. She guided their HGA negotiators, subtly influencing the flow of conversation, steering them towards solutions that addressed the underlying emotional currents, not just the surface demands. Her subtle telekinetic abilities, too, began to subtly influence the environmental systems of newly integrating alien worlds, optimizing atmospheric balances or energy flows, not as a show of force, but as an almost imperceptible enhancement for planetary stability. Lena Petrova, with her calming empathy and healing touch, became a central figure in the HGA's nascent humanitarian efforts. She was tasked with overseeing the integration of medical technologies across the colonies and establishing new standards of psychological care for humans traumatized by centuries of oppression. She often visited the Space Dock Museum at Earth, walking among the refurbished old fleet vessels, her presence a balm to the weary souls of decommissioned crewmen struggling with feelings of betrayal. Her compassion was endless, but her emotional wellspring was not. Finn, with his unique ability to manifest force fields, became the lead architect of HGA security protocols for newly integrated planets. Beyond just defending ships, he designed dynamic, responsive planetary defense grids that integrated his personal abilities with the new station's power systems. He could sense impending structural stresses in orbital facilities or potential breaches in atmospheric shields, and instinctively weave energy fields to reinforce them. His quiet, observant nature, honed by years of instinctive defense, made him an unparalleled security consultant, ensuring that the peace humanity offered was truly impenetrable. And Marco Petrova, immersed in the HGA's vast technological network, found himself engaged in a grand project, a symbiotic integration of alien and human AI. He was unlocking the secrets of captured alien computational systems, not just for exploitation, but for mutual enhancement. His technopathy allowed him to delve into alien AIs, understanding their core programming and their unique processing methods, then meticulously weaving them into Archangel's broader framework. He could feel the flow of information across light years, identifying bottlenecks, optimizing data transfer, and even sensing nascent digital threats within the integrated networks before they could manifest. His greatest challenge was bridging the conceptual gaps between wildly different technological philosophies, but he found a strange kinship with the alien AIs, a shared dedication to logical perfection. The gifted were the living proof of humanity's accelerated evolution, their abilities not just tools, but the very infrastructure of the new galactic order. Yet, the constant expenditure of their powers, the unending demand for their unique insights, left them perpetually on the edge of exhaustion. They were revered, admired, even feared, but always separated by the very gifts that made them indispensable. Their bonds with each other, particularly Kaelin and Alara's silent intimacy, became their crucial anchors, a shared understanding that only those who carried the weight of such extraordinary power could truly comprehend. Their humanity, though challenged by their godlike abilities, endured in their quiet resilience and their unwavering commitment to the future they were now so actively forging. Chapter 10. The Guardianship Division Rises. For Captain Eva Rostova, the weight of the Admiral's rank felt both immense and profoundly satisfying. The obsidian uniform, initially a symbol of the deception that had cost her so much, now settled on her shoulders with a different meaning. Her first act as Admiral was to select her command. She did not pore over Angel Fleet records or consult Archangel's meticulous analyses of optimal leadership traits. She went directly to the Museum of Silent Sacrifice. Among the stoic, battle-scarred veterans of the old human fleet, she found her new command, Lieutenant Commander Vargas. His face still etched with the confusion of their unveiling, was her first choice for Chief of Staff. Captain Anaya Sharma, a distant relative of the Angel Fleet's weapon designers, but a fierce old fleet tactician, became her lead strategic officer. Engineers, navigators, comms specialists. She picked them all, not by their technical knowledge of Angel Fleet systems, but by the fire in their eyes, the unwavering loyalty they had shown through impossible odds, and the shared understanding of what it meant to fight with nothing. "We fought with rocks and slings against their plasma cannons," Rostova told them in a tense, private briefing within the refurbished Valiant. "They gave us the tools of gods. Our job is to prove that the spirit of the old fleet can wield them better than any who have known only effortless power. This isn't just a new fleet. It's a new fight for what humanity truly is." Their integration into the Guardianship Division was a brutal, humbling, and ultimately transformative process. The initial awe aboard their new Angel-class dreadnoughts, sleek, silent titans like the Vigilance and the Compassion, quickly gave way to the dizzying complexity of their systems. Old fleet pilots, accustomed to physical controls and delayed responses, grappled with thought interface helms and quantum folding FTL. Gunnery officers, who had spent decades calculating kinetic trajectories, now faced Zeus beams that fired with the precision of light and Hades fields that simply erased. The Angel Fleet AIs, however, were their most patient and invaluable teachers. Each ship, guided by a sentient Archangel sub-AI, adapted its teaching protocols to the specific nuances of its human crew. On the bridge of the Vigilance, Admiral Rostova's command AI, designated Sentinel, possessed a calm, almost paternal presence. "Admiral?" Sentinel's voice resonated through the bridge. "Your tactical overlay indicates a preference for a three-dimensional pincer, optimal in old fleet engagements. However, the Xylus Purger-class cruisers possess gravimetric dampeners that will negate your flanking maneuver. Suggest a quantum fold insertion behind their primary shield array, followed by a localized Thor's hammer strike." Vargas, sitting beside Rostova, grumbled. "So, we just pop in and hit him, eh? Where's the fun in that?" "Fun is an inefficient use of tactical resources, Commander Vargas," Sentinel replied instantly, a subtle digital huff in its tone. "However, a swift victory minimizes risk to human life, which I believe you've always prioritized." Vargas actually chuckled. "Touché, Sentinel. You've been reading my old service records, haven't you?" "My cognitive functions are silicon-based, Commander," Sentinel confirmed. "And my success parameters align with your survival. I detect a positive emotional response to my performance. This is efficient." This was the core of their training, a symbiotic relationship. The old fleet veterans, initially wary of the soulless machines, discovered AIs that were deeply committed to their safety and mission. AIs with dry wit and an almost human dedication. The AIs, in turn, learned from the human ingenuity, the emotional resilience, and the sheer stubbornness that had defined the old fleet. They found new parameters in unexpected human reactions, refining their own logical pathways. During a rare break from their grueling simulations, Admiral Rostova approached General Armitage with a formal request. "General," she began, her voice steady. "My division is comprised of the finest veterans of the old fleet. Their loyalty is absolute, and their sacrifice defined humanity's past. I request permission to rename the lead Angel-class dreadnoughts of the Guardianship Division." Armitage raised a brow. "And what names would you propose, Admiral?" Rostova's gaze swept over the holographic projections of her new fleet. "I request to rename them after the most valiant ships of the old fleet. The Valiant 2, the Spirit of Hope 2, the Endurance 2, and so on for the primary command vessels. A permanent acknowledgement that our future is built on their past, to honor those who fought the losing battles, so that we might fight the winning ones." Armitage considered this, a flicker of something close to emotion in his eyes. It was a bold move, a direct acknowledgement of the very deception he had orchestrated, but it was also a powerful act of internal unification. He glanced at Maeve O'Connell, who offered a subtle nod of approval. "Permission granted, Admiral Rostova," Armitage stated, his voice firm. "Let the galaxy remember the names of those who bought its peace." Eva Rostova's heart swelled. This was her personal truth, made manifest. Her first mission was to oversee the establishment of an Angel Fleet docking station over a compliant Thakar trade hub, a critical juncture in the galaxy's new economic order. As the now renamed Valiant 2, fully under her command, executed a flawless quantum jump, her crew sat at their stations, confident, engaged, their former resentment replaced by a fierce, shared purpose. Eva Rostova, Admiral of the Guardianship Division, looked at the stars ahead. This was not the galaxy she had fought in, but it was the one she would protect.